giant panda is one of the most successful conservation ambassadors around.
We need to select some oryx that will be able to survive in the wild.
Hello and welcome to Qatar 365 with me, Adil Halim. On this episode, we take a closer look at the conservation efforts underway to protect vulnerable animals. We'll meet a pair of giant cuddly pandas here in the Middle East for the first time ever. But first, the oryx inhabited much of the Arabian Peninsula until it was on the verge of extinction in the 1970s. I came to the Al-Maha sanctuary to find out more about the plan to eventually reintroduce the desert dweller back into the wild.
So today I have 3 cases. They isolated from paddock. 5, 1 oryx with an ear injury.
These doctors are making the rounds, checking in on their 4-legged patients. For this family of Arabian oryxes, the Al-Maha sanctuary is their safe space. The government-run wildlife reserve is a 30-minute drive west of Doha.
We try to protect them from one excessive human interaction, because the process of rewildization is just on. So we need to select some oryx that will be able to survive in the wild without human interaction.
Things weren't always so calm and serene for these oryxes. 50 years ago, the species was declared extinct in the wild, and it took an international conservation plan, Operation Oryx, to safely reintroduce the species back into a managed wildlife population.
The female oryx has a gestation period of almost 9 months. So they cannot produce more than 1 calf in 1 year. And I'm guessing they used to hunt in the hundreds during the hunting season. So if you make a simple calculation, the oryx simply wouldn't be able to keep up the pace with the rate of the hunting.
Andrea Dagliero says there are around 3,000 to 3,500 Arabian oryxes under his watch at the Al-Maha sanctuary, and about 18,000 spread across the country.
The goal of this country, like all the Middle East, is to see the oryx, the Arabian oryx, this species, this symbolic animal, again into the wild, because there is no point to keep breeding, because now, at the beginning, it was critical endangered, because it was extinct from the wild. Now it's only vulnerable, because there is too much oryx in captivity.
A lot has changed since the oryx last roamed freely in the 1970s. In addition to regular meals and water, they also get vaccinated for diseases common among domestic animals.
The main threats are the infection, the disease that could be transferred from domestic animal to the Arabian oryx, and maybe the main challenge is the high urbanization in this country, so the environment issues, together with also the pressure of the climate change.
These animals, although they are wild or semi-wild, they are very, very susceptible to stress. If you make them run too much, they will develop what we call stress myopathy. And actually they recover pretty well if we don't compromise their immune system. They have a nice ability of self-healing with the help of our medication.
The doctors hope one day they'll be able to wean the oryx off their medication, and the quiet and peaceful animals will be able to fend for themselves.
I really dream to see again this creature in its environment. Some kids never saw one oryx. We doesn't know what we are talking about. So our goal is show them this majestic creature.
Have camera, will travel. That's the motto of Qatari wildlife photographer Hamid Al-Khulaifi. He's so dedicated to documenting animals here, he often spends days, weeks, even years building their trust just to get that perfect shot. I joined Al-Khulaifi on a recent expedition to find out why photographing wildlife has become his passion project. Hamid, you began photographing wildlife just over 5 years ago with the hopes of capturing each animal's movements in an artistic way so that each photo would tell a story. How did you come up with that approach?
Well, yeah, when I started bird photography actually before 5 years ago, I was taking pictures normally like other photographers, trying to get the best shot with a blurry background and to show the color of these birds. But these birds they have a life. They have a mysterious life in the field, that they are going, flying, fighting, eating, breeding, all these things that I want to show in one picture so that you can imagine what these birds are doing. So you will start to think and ask yourself that there is a story behind this picture. So it's a good thing to know more about these birds.
So one of the important aspects of what you do is building trust with the animals. How do you do that?
Well, yes, you need to be close to these birds so you can get a good photograph of them. So if you don't build this trust between you and the bird, you cannot get distance and closer to this bird. So that's why we need to go and stay still for a few hours until that bird give you the trust that you won't harm this bird, and you are not threatening these birds, and you are not making any danger for them.
They won't see you as a threat anymore.
Exactly. Even if you left and come back again, they know that you and your car, you are not threatening them, you are not harming them, then they will get closer.
Speaking of migratory birds, Qatar receives more than 400 species annually. Where are they coming from and where are they going?
Well, yeah, Qatar, it's a small country, but because the direction of these birds coming up from the north, from Europe, heading to the south, going to Africa, so Qatar, it's on the way. So they come to Qatar and winter here, many birds. Every year we are recording about 5 to 7 different birds in Qatar. So that's why we are increasing the numbers. Before 2 years, we were like recording, it was like 375, and now we've got more than 400, around 425. So every year we are observing new birds.
And finally, what advice would you give to someone watching who wants to one day become a wildlife photographer?
Actually, I would like to tell them, go out and have fun. Believe me, you will see lots of things. Lots of different birds, different species, different animals in the wild. Don't just stay at home and sitting, and you won't be able to know about what's going on except if you are in the field, in the nature, looking at these birds. So go out, take your camera if you are a photographer. If you want to be a photographer, try to get some shots, and believe me, it's an amazing thing.
Now we've come about 50 kilometers north of Doha to the Middle East's first ever panda park. We're here to visit two of the country's newest residents, the Raya and Suhail, who were gifted to Qatar from a conservation center in China. Laila Humara explains how Panda House became a sustainable environment.
They're cute, cuddly, and playful, and they've brought pandemonium to the Middle East for the first time ever. Suhail and Thuraya were born in China's Sichuan province, but for the next 15 years, they will live here at the Panda House in Qatar. From the structure of the building to the enclosures it houses inside, the architects and husbandry team paid attention to every detail.
The design of the Panda House, if you see the shape outside of the building, is more of, because when pandas in China, they live in mountains, okay? They live in mountains with bamboo forests. So the shape is mimic a mountain in Sichuan. So when we build the building, we have to make sure that we can regulate the temperature and we can change it to mimic the 4 seasons as well, because they are indoor all year round.
Walking through the Panda House, what stands out the most is the sheer amount of space each panda has to move around and play in. Their enclosures were designed intentionally to mimic their natural habitat. There's also a reason why there's separate spaces for Suhail and Thuraya. Let's find out why.
They're solitary animals, meaning they live alone in the wild. So in the wild, each panda will have their own territory, which is quite big, and they don't really overlap. So to keep it as natural as it is, that's why they have to be separated.
But for just one day in a year, Suhail and Thuraya will meet to try to increase the population of their species.
The female panda would only ovulate one day in a year. So as a husbandry team, we have to observe behavioral-wise the changes to see when that moment is, and we work together with the vet team scientific way, like taking blood or collecting urine to get the hormonal changes to find that day, and then we will do our best and their best to hopefully they have some offspring.
Through breeding and reintroduction programs, global efforts to protect pandas have become a shining example for other conservation initiatives. Since 2021, giant pandas have been declared no longer endangered, but still considered vulnerable.
This is due to all the expertise around the world who has pandas, do all the research, and we share our findings, our husbandry techniques, and our finding annually as all the experts in the group, so we can learn more about pandas.
The hope is that the success seen with giant pandas will pave the way for efforts to preserve and protect other endangered species.
I think giant panda is the most successful, one of the most successful conservation ambassador around. I think having giant pandas in a zoo setting to start a conversation of talking about animals, and then you go into conservation, and then from that you can go into other animals that you want to talk about. So here we talk about giant pandas, and then we can pair it with oryx, the local species. That's why I love to work with pandas, because everybody loves them. Who can't?
From the global effort to save Arabian oryxes from extinction to seeing pandas in a conservation area, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Qatar 365. And that's all the time we have for now. For more, check out Euronews.com and connect with us on our hashtag. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Qatar 365.